Good morning, everyone, and welcome to USI and our conference. It is my privilege today to introduce to you Kimberly Gray. This is the session This is the session called HeartMath Reduce Stress Now. Okay, so just in case you didn't check, that's what we're covering today. And I want to tell you a little bit about Kimberly before we start. Kimberly Gray is an RN with 30 years experience, including board certification in holistic nursing, a licensed massage therapist, certified healing touch practitioner instructor, and a licensed HeartMath trainer coach. Since 1999, she has incorporated holistic therapies into her bedside care and has been focused solely on integrative holistic health care and wellness services since 2004. She is founder of the Healing Touch program at St. Joseph's Hospital and the Integrative Wellness program at Tampa General Hospital, both in Tampa, Florida. As an integrative health and wellness counselor, Kimberly is an invited speaker at national and international conferences on the topics of integrative medicine, holistic self-care, and performance enhancement and resilience. Join me in welcoming Kimberly.
Thank you so much. It is really my honor and pleasure and joy to be here with you guys today. I was telling Carol that I've been at Memorial Hospital in Jasper, Indiana, the past 2 days giving full-day workshops on HeartMath to 110 of their top leadership. So my voice was kind of like, I'm going to preserve it for tomorrow. And then there was the opening talk. I laughed so much. Did you guys laugh? I thought, wow. And she mentioned so many things that were so apropos for what we're going to talk about in here today. So obviously, stress is a hot topic in our culture now, isn't it? And why is that? Because stress is so prevalent, and studies are showing that up to 90% of dis-ease has a deep underlying stress component. So in the past, if you went to the doctor and they said, oh, it's just stress, what would you think they were saying? It's just all in my head, right? But gosh, what they're finding out, there's a whole physiological process that happens in our body that completely breaks it down when we have stressful impacts. So we're going to go on an experiential exploration, and you guys hopefully will walk out with some extremely simple but scientifically validated tools to help you reset that the nervous system in your body and turn off that stress like a light switch, that stress response. So let's see, let's make sure this works. There we go. Just a tiny bit. How many of you guys are familiar with the HeartMath or the organization HeartMath? A couple of you are. Okay, so HeartMath is actually an organization that has done over 20 years of research on the impact of stress and emotions, specifically in the body. And their real focus has been on people providing care, which is great for me because that's my passion, supporting people who provide care and helping people know how to care in a healthy way. Because as it's Tifa, correct? As she was saying, you know, care really can impact us in a negative way if it's not done correctly. So they started the research, but now there are programs in hospitals and businesses, police and fire corrections use HeartMath, schools. They're starting even in elementary preschools with teaching people these tools. I said, man, I wish I would have known them when I was younger. It would have saved me a lot of stress and probably a lot of illnesses. So they use it with professional, bless you, athletes and Olympic teams. And they're really active with the military and the special forces, both pre-deployment. They have teams over in the Middle East conflict that are utilizing these tools, and then also coming back for the post-combat PTSD. So that's important to know. And these are just at a glance a few of the organizations that have full-blown HeartMath programs. Carol had mentioned that I started a HeartMath program at Tampa General Hospital in Tampa, where we had 7,000 employees, and I taught full units of care providers how to utilize these tools to de-stress themselves and be able to be more coherent, which you're going to learn, and present for others, themselves first and then others. So just so you know, this is scientifically validated. Everything that I share with you today, there's a scientific study that will substantiate that. And if you want to go to heartmath.org, that's the not-for-profit research organization. They have all of the research listed and so many free webinars and different tools for you, for yourself. But I want to dive right in because we don't have a lot of time, and I just really hold the space for you guys to have a good experience. So before we start anything, I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to imagine one of the most perfect days in your life, one of the most perfect moments. Imagine your life with no stress at all. And the cool part about this is in your brief imaginatory piece here is there's no time barriers, there are no travel barriers, and there are no money barriers. You can be wherever you want, with whomever you want, doing whatever you want in this moment. So let's just take a moment and imagine the perfect, resilient moment. Slowly open your eyes and come back in a conversation. So hopefully you guys just had 45 seconds of a stress-free moment. Stop and check in with your body. Physically in your physical body, mentally in your thoughts, and emotionally, are there any kind of shifts from the busyness of coming in and sitting down and wondering about the workshop? Does anybody notice anything different about yourself? Calm, thank you. What else?
Shoulders drop.
Physically. The shoulder earrings we have at the end of the day. All nice and relaxed. So physically, we relaxed. Emotionally, feel a little calmer. What about mentally? All the thoughts you brought in here. Was there any shift at all in that when you took just 45 seconds? Clearer. More clarity. Not as much. Does anybody else have that? I call it monkey chatter. No? Okay. Maybe I'm the only monkey chatter person in here. So in this moment of stress-free, even though you were imagining it, because this is the cool part, where thought goes, energy flows. What we think and feel, our body doesn't care if it was 10 years ago, 10 days ago, 10 minutes ago. When we take ourselves there, the body's there with it. So wherever you imagined you were there, which is really cool. So if you had these moments more in your life, if you had more of these days, how would that impact you at your work, in your careers, in your business, in your performance, and all of the responsibilities we have, life in general? What about our health? If we had more moments where we could think more clearly and be a little more relaxed and feel more calm inside, do you think that would impact all of these facets of ourselves in a different way? Our friendships, we have so much stress, and especially as we age, it seems like the stressors mount even more. I had a physician make a comment to me not long ago, and they said, in reference to aging and older adults, they said, well, they're retired. What do they have to worry about anyways? I went, wow. without, I don't want to sound judgmental, but I just thought, golly, let's see, we can make a list. The world is completely changing around us as we're aging. When I see my mom using a cell phone and getting on Facebook, I'm like, wow, I can't believe it, because it was 20 years ago, I didn't even use a cell phone. It took me a little bit to get up to speed. So stress impacts all of these facets. We might have a busy, stressful day of service or volunteering or work, and then we have a whole other life in the evening. And so when we have a lot of stress during the day, how does that impact when we go to the next assignment in the evening? Does it impact that? Yeah. When we're exhausted and we can't think clearly, we've got the in the head, and we have shoulder earrings, certainly that impacts how we interact when we walk through the door. Would you guys agree with that? It certainly does. So less stress means that we do have more energy, and our health is actually better. We have a better sense of well-being. We have the ability to think clearly and focus better, make decisions, enhance our performance and productivity, and then our overall sense of well-being. Teepa, that's the correct pronunciation, right? Teepa had said earlier that we can't learn well when we're stressed. I love that because it's so true. When we are stressed, when we have a stress response going on in our body, guess what? We can't even access the thinking center in the brain. Like all the facts that we know from all of our life and our memory and all that are on lockdown when we're in that stress response. So when we have less stress, life would roll just right along. And it would be a little smoother of a ride if you felt all the way through the day the way you felt in that last 45 seconds a little bit ago. So the question is, and I'm going to explain that little wave in a moment. We're going to possibly play with some technology if it will work with us. So the question is, what do we do to reduce stress? So what are some of the things you guys are already doing to reduce your stress? Work out. So sometimes it's physical. What else?
Meditation.
I'm sorry?
Deep breathing.
Deep breathing. Okay, we breathe.
Meditate.
Meditation.
Journal.
Journaling. Writing down our thoughts. That's a way of expressing ourselves.
Reading a book. I have to read.
Reading a book. And did you say something?
No, I told her I'm going to have to use that one about the journal.
Oh, yeah, journaling is really powerful because it gets whatever we're feeling expressed out through ourselves. So what are some other things?
Listening to music.
Music.
Gardening.
Gardening, out in nature. A lot of people go out in nature. Doesn't anybody use vitamin C for chocolate? What else? Did somebody over here say something?
I said have a glass of wine.
A glass of vino. Perfect. Cardiologists say that that's a really healthy thing to do.
Knitting or sewing.
Knitting or sewing. Yes. For you, I love that you said that. For me, we all have a different way that our system responds to different activities. So the challenge with everything you guys said, those are all great ways to manage our stress. But a lot of times we wait until it's vacation. I'm going to push on until 2 more weeks I have vacation, 2 more months. Then I'll de-stress, right? Guess what's happening those 2 weeks or 2 months prior to that? We're building up the capacity for potential breakdown in our system if we're constantly stressed. So, gardening and journaling and meditating and all of having that glass of wine, that's not always something we can do at the moment that the stress is occurring in the workday or in our day of service or in our day of caregiving for someone else, just like what Teepa was talking about. We could see how George's life was very stressed, right? So in those moments, we can't stop and step aside like, okay, honey, I'm going to not be in this stress right now. I'm going to step away. Let me go get a glass of wine. Then I'm going to help you to the bathroom and the shower. You see, we can't always stop and go do that. So most traditional stress reduction plans, they do happen after the fact. They take more time, going for that walk or going for that run or sitting down to journal. They rely on relaxation, which is great. But relaxation is not an emotion, and it's a physiological state in our nervous system. They're short-lived, and then sometimes they create more stress. And so an effective stress relief plan actually minimizes the stress response at the moment that it happens. So it works quickly, on demand, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and right when we need it the most, not after we've already had internal breakdown. And it maximizes our health, our ability to think clearly, step forward, make choices, be creative, and our quality of life. So today, what I'm so excited to share with you guys a little bit about what stress really is, see how quickly it impacts our physiology, and then give you those tools to walk out with to relieve stress now, in that moment. So this is the interesting part. Often we think that, it's, especially as a caregiver, taking care of that person or the traffic light or that coworker that always gets on your last nerve. Too many tasks and not enough time to complete them. Is that a comment? I mean, isn't that the state of the world today? I have too much to do. There's no way I can do it all. So those are not the stress. We think that's the stress, that dirty pile of laundry. Oh my gosh, I've been meaning to do that for 2 days, and the underwear I needed to wear to borrow are in there. You know what I'm saying? The little stressors that even cause this response in our body, it's not really even the stress at all. So I have a little illustration for this, and I love this. This was actually a gentleman and wife were out at the Institute of HeartMath. He was on a heart monitor. It was measuring his heart rhythm for 24 hours. And they were lost and trying to get out of the woods because the HeartMath Institute is way in the middle of the redwoods. And so it started to get dark, and they had to pull over to the side of the road and talk about directions. And the wife said something that got under the husband's skin. And the way they found this out is 24 hours later, when the strip came back, they were like, yo, dude, what happened right here? What in the world? You were just sitting in the car. So you could see his heart rate over here was like 60 to 80 because our heart rate's constantly changing. And then when she said something, what happened to his heart rate? 100. And then he really started to get a little worked up about it. How high is his heart rate? The highest is almost 160. Now, he's not out running a marathon or trying to run down that mountain road. He's sitting in the car. Who needs a heart rate of 160 while you're sitting in the car? No one. So we're really batteries. We're energetic. We have to restore energy within our body, and we're constantly expending energy. So when this gentleman had this heart rate of this, what was happening to the battery and his energy level in his body? It was draining really quickly, wasn't it? And so they talked about it, navigated, found the way to go, and his heart rate came down. But what do you notice about his heart rate here?
Still elevated.
It's still elevated, and it's not just 5 minutes, 35, 45, 55, 60, 25 minutes later. So he's expending a lot of energy here, like if you have a computer that's using a lot of data on a video stream, versus you're just checking emails. You're not using a lot of data or energy here. But here, you're kind of maybe watching a little video. You guys get that analogy? We always have to be aware of how much energy we're expending. So this gentleman was wearing down his nervous system and expending a lot of energy just because his wife said something that got under his skin an hour ago. Well, really about 45 minutes ago. Interesting. We don't really break it down in that concept, but these little things happen to us all day long. Somebody kind of cut you off on the road. Then you calm back down. But then you get to work and you go to your coworker and say, you'll never believe what happened to me. Guess what happens in the body when you say it again? The brain doesn't care if it was then or now. You're in that experience again in your nervous system, expending a lot more energy. So stress is almost always about our emotional reaction to a situation. It's not the situation itself. Now this guy's expending a lot of energy. What's going on for him physically? He's tense. Mentally, what's going on for him? He's overwhelmed. Do you think he could come up with a creative plan right now? No. Do you think he would communicate well the point he wanted to get across? Not so much. And emotionally, what does this kind of look when we just glance at it, just a glance? Emotionally, he looks maybe a little frustrated, overwhelmed, just frazzled. So our emotions quickly impact our heart rhythms, which directly impacts our body and our mind. So before we go on, I want to give you guys one little tool. It's going to sound so ridiculously simple. And this is a tool that you can use with your eyes wide open in the middle of somebody sharing with you with what I call vomititious quality. I mean, no disrespect when I say that. But do you guys know what I'm talking about? You know when somebody approaches you and they're like, rah, rah, and you're like, whoa, it just got all over me. And in that moment, what do we do when somebody approaches us like that? Whether it's at work or personally, somebody's upset about something, we turn it to us, don't we? What did I do wrong? I wasn't fast enough. I didn't get it fast enough. They're mad at me if I don't do a good job. You see what I'm saying? Those underlying tapes we have going on, we fall into their chaos. Does anybody ever do that? It's easy to get pulled in, isn't it? So there are 4 words I want you guys to remember, and we're all going to say them together. I share this with top leadership of healthcare organizations. So whenever anybody approaches you that way, it's not their fault, just like Tipa was saying with the culture that she works with dementia. It's just where they're at. So we're going to say 4 words, and I want you to embrazen this within yourself and take it with you. And those 4 words are, it's not about me. Okay? So on the count of 3, let's say that together, and say it like you mean it. 1, 2, 3. It's not about me. Okay? Now that's not HeartMath, but to me that's important because that's what happens when stress starts around us. We start coming into a little bit of self-judgment of what did I do to contribute to this? And no matter what's going on, it has helped me so much to just inside say, you know what? It's not even about me. And that helps me be more compassionate. It makes me become an observer of the chaos. And then I use this little tool we're going to practice. It's called heart-focused breathing. Now, how many of you guys use breathing techniques? Carol said breathing earlier. There are so many different breathing techniques, and this may seem so simplistic, but remember, it's very researched. So, since we're in a group setting, you can close your eyes, but this is one of those little tiny tools that if I had a prescription pad for every one of you, I would write heart-focused breathing every time you have to wait. Here, that's your assignment. Here. Every time you have to wait, because you're retraining your nervous system. So if you want to, just for this first practice, you can close your eyes. And I want you to bring your attention to your heart or the center of your chest. I call this intentional breathing or attentional breathing. If you need to put your hand over your heart area, you can do that too to kind of tap in. And now slow your breathing down. Breathing in and out in a regular rate. The air is flowing in through your heart, through and out through your heart. Kind of like a rising and a falling wave, in and out. They suggest a count of 5, but most people can't start there. So find the rate that works for your body. Tune in with your own body. Breathing in. Opening your eyes and coming back into our conversation. But kind of check in with your body and ask, is there any shift at all mentally, emotionally, or physically? That was like 45 seconds. Does anybody feel any kind of shift at all?
Relaxed, more relaxed.
Your body, physically, your body feels more relaxed. Anybody else?
More aware that I am breathing.
More aware of your breath. Are we always aware of our breath?
I think a lot of times we just don't breathe.
We don't breathe. I love that because people will come back after a full day training and say, Kimberly, I didn't realize I hold my breath all the time. Or they'll say, I don't have time to practice this. I'm like, is breathing an option? I don't think so. If you're not breathing, you're going to have a different story going on in your life. Different life. Okay. So this is heart-focused breathing. It takes us out of our sympathetic nervous system, which is arousal, into our parasympathetic relaxation side of our nervous system. It's just balancing our nervous system. So let's try it for 15 seconds more, but try it with your eyes open. Just find a spot to look at. Did anybody have trouble bringing attention to their breath? Sometimes people do. So when we bring our attention to something, neurotransmitters start working in that area and little neurons start firing. So it's like when somebody says, okay, wiggle your right thumb. I want you to focus on your right thumb right now and wiggle your right thumb. So go ahead and do that. So you're paying attention to your thumb. Now stop wiggling it, but just pay attention to your thumb. So we're kind of aware of our thumb, right? So this is bringing your attention to the center of your chest, and then just allowing that breath to flow in and out and creating an evenness, because when we breathe in, it evokes sympathetic nervous system. When we breathe out, it evokes parasympathetic. We're bringing, remember roll right along, that little rhythm that you saw? That's literally a heart rate variability pattern that is evoked when we breathe in and breathe out evenly. We are resetting our nervous system. So, what I would like to do is to see if there is anybody who would be willing to play a little bit with me. And so what this is just a little demonstration with some technology. And I don't know if these, yeah. It would just involve a little clip on your ear that's not too tight. Is anybody willing to play with me? Oh, thank you so much. And you are?
Priscilla.
Priscilla. What a beautiful name. Okay, go ahead and sit down. And we'll hope the technology works. When the technology doesn't work, I just say, you know what? Technology and I say, don't worry about it. I'm not used to working with hardware. I'm used to working with heartware. So I'll invite you to take off your the earring, the bottom one. We'll try to get a good connection going on here. Go this side. Let's see. This is some of the M-wave technology that HeartMath has. So let's see if we can pick up a reading. There we go. Excellent. Thank you so much. And Priscilla, I'm going to just bring this over so it won't pull on your ear and try to clip it on your collar if you don't mind. Now, what you guys don't realize is that Priscilla and I kind of met outside, and there was a little secret she shared with me, and she just loves to sing. And so I thought, no, I'm kidding. I wouldn't do that to you. Let's see if I can. No, I won't do that to you. Seriously, what's going on here is this is a monitor, and I'll let you see it in a moment. And we're all going to practice together so Priscilla doesn't feel like she's really on the spot. And this is, this picks up the heart rhythm, and then it averages it into what's called a heart rate variability pattern. Our heart rates are constantly changing. So what I would like to do now, Priscilla, is to invite you, and we're all going to support her because we don't know each other, but we're friends now, right, in this workshop, is together we're all going to bring our attentions to our heart, and I'll ask you to do this, and I'll do it with you. Bring your attention to your heart. And just slow your breathing down. to a rate that feels good for your body. It's kind of like a rising and a falling wave. This is a good time we can all practice it together. And as you practice this, Corcelia, how does your body feel, physically or emotionally or mentally, outside of you're in the front of a room?
Fine. It's just I feel my heart kind of moving quickly.
Okay.
A little bit, it's like it's trying to slow down.
Okay. So let's try just a little bit longer, but let's add. Recall that place you guys went earlier for the 45 seconds. Remember that? Just go there now. With the heart focus and heart breathing. And just imagine you're in that stress-free place you were for that 45 seconds earlier. We're all going to that place we had. Okay. And now we can bring our attention forward, and let's see if you can turn around, Corcelia, so you can see if you want to see the screen. What I'm going to kind of just show to you guys, it's really hard when you're in front of people, but in the very beginning when we started, can you see this kind of jaggedy little rhythm, a lot of pointies up here, and it's like up and down and kind of all over the place, right in here. But then we started the heart-focused breathing, and it was trying to kind of normalize. You see where there are more of the rolling right along, little peaks and valleys? I don't have a pointer, but like right in here. And then we started talking about, she's like, oh, my heart rate's a little high, but I'm trying to work with it. See what happened? There's more of a jaggedy little pattern there. And then when we refocused and did the heart-focused breathing at that place, see how it really tried to form more of that. Can you guys see that? This is real time. Look right in here. This is where the coherence, Corcelia, this is where your body was saying, I'm getting coherent. My nervous system is balanced. Sympathetic, parasympathetic, sympathetic, parasympathetic. And so if I go ahead and stop it, it will kind of reduce it where you can see it a little more clearly. See jagged to start, and then it started to even out, and then we talked, which made it a little more chaotic. And then you really this is when your body was really starting to get coherent, and then we came back into conversation. So can you guys see that pattern? This is like immediately in our nervous system. Thank you so much. I think we should give her a hand for being brave. She was the only one that said, hey, we should have a vitamin C for chocolate or something for you. Okay. So this is technology that I use to retrain my nervous system to be more coherent, because I can get coherent like that as a healing touch practitioner, getting present in the moment with one breath after many years of practice. But what I found is my body can't stay there, because I've had a lot of traumatic things happen and I go back there. So what happens when we feel stressful emotions, it causes a chaotic heart rate variability or rhythm pattern. This pattern goes to the brain, and the little structure in the brain that's the relay station that sends the information where to go, the thalamus. It says, I don't know what you're saying. When we feel a stressful emotion, I'm going to simplify this as simple as I can. The second that we feel a stressful emotion, our heart rate variability gets chaotic, which sends a chaotic signal to the brain. And then we can't access the thinking centers. That's why we react, blah, why'd you do that to me? And then when we calm down, we go, whoa, I would have said it differently if I wouldn't have been in the reactivity mode, because my brain wasn't thinking of what to say, because I couldn't even access the thinking center. Does that make sense to everyone? I think sometimes Dr. McCready, he's the director of research at HeartMath, he said, when we get incoherent, it makes us stupid. And we're not stupid, we're out to lunch. We're not even accessing the thinking center. So when we feel positive emotions, our body comes into that state of coherence where our heart's communicating with our brain and our brain's communicating with our body and the nervous system and all of the different processes that are going on. So when I say that word coherent, it's that optimal state when everything is working together like a fine-tuned machine. Our immune system and our hormonal systems are working well, and our nervous system in this state of energetic coordination, rather than like in a dragon boat. Say this is the heart, the brain, the immune system, the respiratory system, the gut, and we're all rolling along together. We're all in sync. Everything's working fine within the body. And then all of a sudden, I think, I am so upset about what that person said to me last week. What happens to my rhythm within the body? So if I'm the boat, what happened in Tampa, we have dragon boats right outside the hospital, races going on. So what happens to the rate of speed of that boat? It slows down. What happens to the direction? It might even go a whole different way. That's what happens to us when we get stressed. This is how you know when you are what I call incoherent, because coherence is rolling right along. Incoherence is not working together. This is the demonstration of incoherence. Let's see. I'm going to go do the, oh wait, no. First I said I was going to go make that call. Oh gosh, first I was going to finish this. Does anybody ever do that? That's a demonstration of incoherence. Our body is under stress in our nervous system and we can't access the thinking center of the brain. So, heart-focused breathing, believe it or not, sympathetic, parasympathetic, gas pedal, brake pedal. In our body, gas pedal. Has anybody ever ridden in a car with anybody that had one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake? What kind of ride was that? Was that this kind of a ride or this kind of a ride? It's chaotic, isn't it? Fear, anxiety. So the benefits of getting coherent, bringing that sympathetic, parasympathetic back into balance, it does increase our calmness. You guys have already noticed that in our little demonstration earlier. It increases our emotional stability. What happens when we feel stressed out and something happens that's out of our routine? It seems huge, doesn't it? Whereas when we're coherent, I call it looking through heart-colored glasses. Our heart and brain are all communicating. We see it completely differently. It shifts our perception. So coherence brings us that ability to self-regulate and listen to that person and not go, why did you say that to me? And be able to say, wow, they're really going through something right now. Becoming an observer of the chaos rather than being pulled into the chaos. So it increases our memory and our ability to learn, as Teepa was saying, our short and long-term memory, our ability to focus, process information. It also increases our reaction time and our ability to learn. What happens when we're really stressed out and really tired and fatigued and we're driving down the road? What is our reactivity time like? Is it better or worse? It's slower, right? Like, oh man, I didn't see that car coming toward me. I'm just so tired. So when we're coherent, it increases our focus, our alertness, our awareness, and our ability to choose in the moment. So there are 3 easy steps for taking charge of your stress and to relieve stress now, get back in the flow, really prevent stress from occurring in your body. The stress, remember, it's not the stress, it's the stress response. So something I haven't really mentioned, if we go back to these. When we're feeling stressful emotions and we're incoherent, we have an incoherent heart rhythm, we can't access the thinking centers of the brain. But this is another piece, because when we feel this, 1,400 biochemicals rush into our bloodstream. And the hormone that is really increased when we're feeling emotions that stress our body, I mean, what are those emotions? What are some of them? What are some emotions that, they don't even have to be high charge, they could be low charge, that are stressful for us and have a stressful impact? Fear, exactly. Frustration. Rage, anger, anxiety, overwhelm, panic. And this is the key, is a lot of times we have underlying soundtracks. I'll be talking about the science a little more later in the day, is that we all have soundtracks that are running all the time that we don't even know about. These are like slow drains of our energy. We don't even know we have this underlying fear or anxiety, but it is utilizing our energy. So increased cortisol, stress hormone, with stressful emotions, and with positive or renewing emotions, energizing emotions, which are what? The things you guys felt in your little visualization earlier. What are some of those? Tipa talked about the big J word. I was glad we started that way. Joy, happiness. Even on the low energy side, just as simple as appreciation. So if you're having a really stressful moment, like someone sharing with Morticia's quality, what I do is I find something to appreciate. Even at Tampa General, when it would be on rehab, there would be a lot of people really stressed out. I might notice the sunlight and just appreciate it, and then be coherently listen as I appreciated the sunlight instead of feeling like, whoa, the fear and anxiety and overwhelm. Remember what that does in your nervous system. You can't change what's happening around you always, but what do you have control over? We do have control over internal, and sometimes it feels like we don't. Wouldn't you guys agree with that? It's like, I don't have any control over any of that. But what I love about HeartMath is it gave me back the power for me to have accountability for my own self. Because as I said, there have been, a lot of traumatic situations, and I thought, gosh, all this stuff just flies at me. I have no control over it. This stuff that I can't change. And it's just kind of a little bit of a, victim consciousness. I admit it in the past. And now it's like, wow, I can, in the moment, I recognize I'm really frustrated about it. No judgment. Because if we're judging it, where do we go from those rhythms? See, that's a big key. Oh, I shouldn't be feeling that way. I shouldn't be feeling angry about this. Just say, oh, I'm feeling anger about that. Recognize it and say, is that serving me in the moment? And then shift to a more positive emotion. So the 3 easy steps, and we kind of practice them a little bit, adding that positive emotion. But this is a technique called quick coherence, where we do the heart-focused breathing, and then we recall a person, a place, an event, an experience that evokes a positive emotion, and we sense that that's coming in and out with our breath. So let's do that together. Bring your attention to your heart in the center of your chest. Slow your breathing down to where there's an evenness to the breath in and the breath out. Now make a sincere effort to activate a positive or renewing emotion, such as care or appreciation for something or someone you care about. And imagine that that emotion is flowing in and out with your breath. And then coming back into our conversation and just kind of check in with yourself, physically, mentally, emotionally. Just notice what you notice. Our bodies have a certain response system that it knows. So it may be uncomfortable to do this for a little bit, like, oh God, That's way too simple. I don't think that's really going to help with all the stress I have. But that's why it takes practice, because it takes 4 to 6 weeks for a habit to form. And you are retraining your body's response system in your nervous system. So that's why I say when I give presentations to large organizations, even for leadership, I'll just throw a picture up there. It will have, okay, because they'll be like, we don't have time for this, Kimberly. And I'll be like, well, is breathing an option? No. And so I'll put the picture of the different ways that we have time that we don't even know about. When are some of the times we have to wait? Traffic lights. When else?
In a meeting.
In a meeting.
Grocery store. Grocery store.
Grocery store.
Hold on the phone.
Holding on the phone. How about when you're booting up your computer? Yeah? I used to, I'd be one of those like, oh, grocery store, there's the shortest, where is that shortest line? You know, oh, no, let me go here. Oh, wait, no, that one has 2 more people. That one, nope, somebody else got in it. Thinking, and what is that doing to my nervous system? You know what I do? I find the longest line now. And even if I have a big deadline of why I need to leave that store, I've got to get home and I've got kids and I have to cook and I have to get all this done before I get them off to practice. What I found is that self-care, that, 3 minutes I waited as I heart focused and breathed and chuckled when I saw what I call the rag mags, with the stories that make you really appreciate your own life. Anything that can evoke a positive emotion is like medicine in your body. Every moment you feel a positive emotion. So I use that as a moment at the the red lights, heart-focused breathing, and just enjoy the sunlight that's outside. I used to live at St. Pete Beach, and it was 28 miles from work. And then my son-in-law was severely injured in Afghanistan. He was paralyzed in an explosion. So I moved closer to be with them. And what I noticed is I would rush across that 18-mile bridge. I would get across the bridge and go, when did I cross the bridge? Because we're incoherent. We're not even really in our bodies. We're on autopilot. So I started saying, you know what? I'm going to take care of myself. So when I started on the bridge, I would start heart-focused, heart-breathing, because I love the sunlight in the water in Tampa Bay, dancing all over the water. So I would notice the sunlight dancing on the water, and I would enjoy it, producing more DHEA, less cortisol, because positive emotions help us create more vitality hormone, less stress hormone, and resetting my nervous system. Honestly, by the time I would get to work, people would be like, wow, you're just glowing today. I wouldn't say a word. I hadn't even, I would just look and walk in with a smile in greeting. And because whatever emotion we're feeling, and we can't get into it in this talk because of time, sadly enough, it is radiating from us like we're a radio tower. They can measure the electricity, the electromagnetic current that's at our heart and our brain that flows through our body with magnetometers, with superquantum interference devices. They can measure it 3 to 5 feet away from us. And it's carrying the hertz vibration of the emotion that we're feeling. That's what we're feeling when somebody says, you don't want to go in there. It's so thick in there, you could what? Cut it with a knife. You're feeling a vibration of that emotion of anger, frustration radiating into the environment. So this is so important to know that it's not even impacting just us, even if we're like, oh, I'm having a great day. Because we all have a friend like that. Oh, I'm fine. Look, I know you, and you're smiling, but you're not fine. Something's going on. How do we know that? It's being broadcast through this electromagnetic current that carries our emotional vibration of every single moment. So anytime you're stressed And that means the impact of stress. Stress is, you know it, when you have the monkey chatter or the brain toot, or you can't think clearly, or your emotions get stuck in that anger, overwhelm, frustration. You want to heart focus, heart breathe, find something to appreciate. That person that's sharing, it's been to the point of, wow, they have gorgeous blue eyes. They're like, wow, you know, upset. But I appreciate their beautiful blue eyes. And I heart focus and I heart breathe. And guess what? That's where that's going. It's radiating from me. So I always ask myself, what am I radiating right now? That's kind of like one of my little checkpoints. What am I radiating? Not what do I look like? What am I really radiating right now? And so the heart focus breathing with the heart feeling, which is quick coherence, is that tool that if you take it away with you today, and before you get in those stressful situations, you use it, you might even see your environment around you change and how people respond to you. So what we learned today is that stress is the result of our emotional reaction. It quickly impacts our heart rhythm, just as in the demonstration. And it's the key to effective and sustainable stress relief. And it relieves stress in that moment. So I know we haven't had a lot of time. Like I said, I just spent 2 full days in the hospital. There's so much I wish I could share with you. But I know that this tool is enough to transform your life if you take it and practice it every time you have to wait. So the anytime benefits are, maybe when you wake up in the morning, set the tone for the day. Take those heart-focused breaths if you're a prayer warrior or if you meditate or anything else you do. This can add to that. As you're knitting, heart-focused breathing. As you're journaling, heart-focused breathing. Bring this facet of the addition of calming down and retraining that autonomic nervous system. So at the beginning of the day, set the tone for the day. Even if it's just a few moments and a few breaths to get coherent. And then during the day, if you've done that, if you've set the tone for the day, as these little things pop up that normally kind of just get under your skin a little bit, it's easier to reset if you've started at a baseline of coherence. You could say, the moment you say, why are they saying, I'm getting incoherent? I'm just going to kind of watch them and heart focus and breathe. And the more you practice this, eventually, you don't even have to think about it anymore. The body loves it, that it feels better that way, that it will immediately start heart-focused breathing without you thinking about it at all. And then I work with a lot of healthcare providers, and their big challenge is sleeping at night, because what happens? They go to bed, everything that happened in the day. They get a little distracted. Caregivers, gosh, so much happens. Like that beautiful husband. Like, when did he ever get to stop and reset his nervous system? If he didn't have a tool during, never. Some caregivers never get a break. That's why it's important to know how to use this during. Like, I was thinking of, when Tifa was doing all those beautiful demonstrations. Isn't it just so obvious that I just love that she is a voice for this whole culture of people that people don't understand. Why are they acting that way? That's all they know. And it's obvious she's worked a lot with them. But anyway, as she, when somebody grabs you, if you're working with somebody with dementia, as we practiced, I found myself, when it was an intense moment with Tifa, I would just naturally start heart-focused breathing because I could feel a little rise, as if I were in the skin of that person she was describing. So it just becomes natural. So if you prep and set for the tone of the day, and then reset during the day, and then last thing at night, use that to go to sleep. Actually, the CEO, or he will be the CEO, he's the Chief Operating Officer of the organization in Jasper that I spoke with the first day, on Tuesday, he was there. And you kind of, when you're talking about heart things, sometimes people think it can be kind of touchy-feely. So it's kind of, you don't quite know how it will go with leaders of that level that are male. No, not trying to generalize, but it's really a mental-driven world. He came back yesterday morning to support the other 56 leaders and said, you know what? I couldn't sleep last night and I used my heart-focused breathing. The CEO of this organization. So, and he said, I can tell this is really going to help me in how I can effectively help this be a better place for you. That's tremendous. So the next steps are to kind of get a plan. How am I going to remind myself to start my day this way or to reset? Start with one thing. Say, okay, at every red light today, I'm going to heart focus, breathe, and enjoy that I have a moment to do this. Like the red light's giving me a self-care break. So one of the things on the slide with leaders is, at Tampa General, they have these big, high-powered hand dryers. I say, go for it. Heart focus, enjoy that air. It's like a hand massage. I'm like, gosh, if I really want to take care of myself, I do it in a second. You know, find those moments. It's like a twofer, you know, hand massage, warmth, and resetting my nervous system. So they have lots of free resources online, heartmath.org, or if you know somebody that's here and you're here together, you can support each other and, hey, let's just heart focus, breathe for a moment. The nurses are going to start doing this together before meetings in the hospital. Everybody will get coherent. It changes the whole dynamic. And so celebrate and feel appreciation for every time that you remember that in itself. And this is actually my license plate. And what I say is the answer to balance is in your heart. Do the math. And I truly believe that. It's so simple, but it's so profound. And I know we're a few moments over because we did start late, but if anybody, that's kind of the end of my presentation. But if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer those, to stay and answer those for you. Comments. Are we good? Oh, Carol?
Is there ever a time when stress is helpful?
That's a good point. Carol asked if there's ever a time that stress is helpful, and there are theories about positive stress and negative stress. But HeartMath says just for today, if we say there's good stress, what are we going to say about that stress? Give me some of that stress. So it's the wording. They say it's a challenge, and we do talk about that in the long programs. They've done research with military, World War II, and currently, that good stress is really a challenge for us. Something gives us a challenge, it gives us drive, it gives us an impetus, but it doesn't have to evoke a stress response in the body. So it all depends on how you want to look at it, but I call good stress a challenge. Oh, that's a nice challenge. So, good question. Anybody else? Well, I hope you all have enjoyed it. It's given you at least food for thought, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you so much.